Two women walk through Rome after a night of drinking. They're tourists who met at a bar and hit it off. This is their last night in Rome. Tomorrow both women fly back home, the blonde back to Russia, and the brunette back to Spain. The brunette announces they've arrived just outside her hotel, pointing out her balcony. She's trying to convince the blonde to come up to her room for one more drink, but the blonde's hesitant and apprehensive, having never gone up to a woman's room before. After a flirtatious tug of war, she gives in, heading upstairs. The blonde glances around the ornate room while the brunette grabs her a bottle of wine. The brunette asks her name, for the third time tonight. The blonde reminds her she's Natasha. Natasha remembers the other girl's name though. It's Alba, which means dawn in Spanish. Alba boasts dawn as her big moment, noting it's the first night of summer. Natasha corrects her, it's summer in Europe, but in Russia, summer began on the 1st of June. Alba's surprised to hear Russia has a summer at all. It being the last day of their trip and the shortest night of the year, Alba proposes they make it last, leaning in to kiss Natasha. She slips her hands up Natasha's dress, but she pushes her off, starting to say she's not gay. Alba doesn't see what her suggestion has to do with anything, considering they met in a way that's conventional for heterosexual hookups. Natasha confesses she's never looked at a woman this way, or vice versa, but it's clear Alba's done this before with many. Alba assures her every woman is different. The wind blows a moment of silence between them, before Natasha offers to show Alba her body. Natasha's about to undress right there on the balcony, but soon realizes she's not that brazen. The couple retreat inside, and Natasha tries stripping again, but her nerves get the better of her. She asks Alba to disrobe her instead, and Alba happily obliges, gingerly removing Natasha's clothing as she marvels at her body. Alba strips in return, gently leading Natasha to the bed. She tries to kiss her, but again, Natasha pulls away, looking distraught. Alba understands, offering they just lay there, close but not touching, until Natasha feels more comfortable. For a while, they simply stare into each other's eyes, tenderly stroking each other's cheeks, till Natasha notices Alba's fallen asleep. Natasha creeps out of bed so as not to wake Alba, getting dressed. She thinks it's better to leave secretly so she won't have to say goodbye. She's not sure she has the nerve to follow through anyways. Rushing to get dressed, she accidentally puts on Alba's panties, ripping them in the process. She whispers a reminder of her name to Alba's sleeping figure, thanking her for this secret that will stay between them. Alba's woken by a phone call. She digs around for her phone, finding her torn panties in the process, and silences the call, trying to remember when she changed her ringtone. She falls back asleep when the unfamiliar tone rings in her ears again. This time when she silences the phone, she notices everything's written in Russian, and half asleep, wonders how that happened. It's only when Natasha knocks and calls out to her does she fully wake and recall what happened before she fell asleep. Alba answers the door, making Natasha blush. She explains the situation, and Alba offers she come in to collect her phone. But Natasha's afraid to enter her room again. Alba wonders what happened while she was asleep, and why Natasha chewed up her panties. Natasha's ready to argue when a man delivering room service to the neighboring room interrupts them. He bids Natasha goodnight, but his eyes bug out of his head when he turns to do the same to Alba. Alba sarcastically thanks Natasha for the food, but the man, not in on the joke, explains it's for the next room, though he's willing to take the ladies' orders afterwards, making sure to give them his name. Natasha retrieves her phone while Alba enjoys the brief show of her behind. Pulling out a map, Alba asks Natasha to point out where her hotel is. As Natasha trails her finger along the paper, finding the path to where her hotel should be, she notices it's a map of the Roma of the Caesars. Alba nods, losing herself in the historically accurate map. She points out different temples, including the Tempio della Ninfa. Natasha notes that Ninfa is the name of her hotel. Alba is staying in the Pompeo, dragging Natasha's finger along the map to where the theater of Pompeo is. Natasha looks around in wonder as she realizes they're practically inside the theater, marveling at how history surrounds them. The mood shifts, with the excitement of distraction fading. The women's attentions turn back to lust and suddenly they kiss. Falling into each other, they make love passionately for the first time. As the post-coital bliss fades, Natasha sobers, begging Alba not to let what's happened in this room escape, not wanting it to affect the life she has outside of this. Alba agrees, though insists since they're both here, they should have fun. Alba has a life far away from Natasha's, and tomorrow, Rome will send them back to opposite corners of Europe. Natasha remarks how great it is not knowing each other's names, and Alba's confused. Natasha's aghast Alba would be trusting enough to give out her real name, and Alba shakes her head, claiming the name she calls herself is the name she was going to give her daughter, but little Alba never saw the dawn. Natasha offers her condolences, but Alba covers herself, putting distance between them. Alba tells the story of how her mother took her to Marabella one summer when she was 16. Back then, they were broke, and her mother spent what little she had on fortune hunting, which remarkably worked out for them, as one day, they bumped into an Arabian oil sheikh named Hamir Osman while shopping. Hamir took a liking to them. They spent the summer on his yacht, and by winter, he'd invited them to his palace in Saudi Arabia. Hamir bought her mother everything she'd ever wanted, so she'd left there with a small fortune in jewelry. Natasha interjects in the story, shocked to hear that Alba's mother left her there. Alba explains her mother had been persuaded by Hamir to let her stay there in exchange for a monthly allowance for the next 4 years. She admits it had been easy to stay there at first, enjoying the comfortable lifestyle. Hamir gifted her a horse that only she could ride, and she began to blindly love him. Everyone treated her well, including Hamir's other wives. Hamir's doting turned to dissatisfaction when she didn't get pregnant. She wanted to leave, but it was then she realized how trapped she was, thanks to her marriage. Just like her horse, which he eventually sold to punish her, she was Hamir's property. He got his way, as shortly afterwards, she got pregnant. Hamir began lavishing her with adoration again. But Alba realized after she made her baby, she'd be confined there, like the rest of his harem. The day the doctor confirmed she was having a girl, she told the story to an Egyptian nurse, who helped her escape in a Greek ship. Since she arrived in Athens at dawn, she intended to name her Alba, but Hamir discovered her escape and contacted the police in Saudi Arabia, putting out a warrant for her arrest. At 18, Alba aborted her daughter, knowing if she had her, Hamir would never stop chasing them. She sold her jewels and started a new life in Spain, never seeing her mother again. Natasha wonders if that's how she became a lesbian, and Alba laughs, claiming that was how she became a woman. She wonders what Natasha's story of womanhood is. Natasha dodges the question, but Alba thinks she owes her. Natasha's curious whether she owes Alba the truth or a story, but Alba claims she can give whatever she'd prefer, questioning whether Natasha thinks her story was false. Natasha catches a glimpse of a painting reflecting off the glass door behind Alba, of the Agora in Athens, and is startled at the coincidence, posing the question of whether the painting inspired her story, or the other way around. Alba knows the painting's been there long before her, but in her mind, it's been waiting for her all this time. Alba's curious to know what her surroundings are and pulls out her laptop, starting up GPS software. Natasha directs her to Moscow, then further east to Ostrov-Nikrasov, an island. The image reveals a singular, massive mansion taking up the entire thing. Even the pool can be seen from satellite. Alba is wowed, joking she'd have to spank Natasha if she claims this is her house. Natasha picks up Alba's hand, using it to smack herself with a cheeky grin. Alba's further wowed by how remarkably firm her posterior is, but refocuses, wondering what Natasha's doing in Rome. Natasha reveals she's here for an audition. She's an actress. Alba's impressed, curious to know whether she's a good one, a famous one, or just married to a mafioso, and Natasha seems to resent that, claiming she's single. Natasha demands Alba show her the Arabian palace she spoke of. Alba's hesitant at first, but Natasha insists if she doesn't, Alba would be the one who owes her a true story. Alba types in the location, and as it zooms in on San Sebastian, Natasha thinks her city is just like her, small, with a pretty face, but Alba explains she's from Valladolid, which is 3 times bigger than San Sebastian. Alba points out her house, but is disturbed when she notices the baby chairs in the satellite photo. Natasha is surprised to find she has children, and notices Alba's expression changing as she looks at the map, wondering what's wrong. Alba explains the photos are quite old. She hadn't expected to see them. It caught her off guard. She explains they would have been on the beach or the island at the time, pointing out one of the photos are from the summer she started living in San Sebastian, 2 years ago. Alba's overcome with tears and Natasha kisses her gently, offering comfort without being asked. She wonders if there's anything Alba wants to tell her, but Alba's too emotional to face her, curling up on the bed. Natasha follows her, petting her back and smothering her with chaste, affectionate kisses. Between pecks, Alba wonders aloud where Natasha came from, without warning, how she could just show up and upturn her life like this. Natasha confesses she isn't sure, she doesn't even feel like herself, whispering in Russian. Alba's charmed by how beautiful it sounds, despite being afraid of what's happening, confessing how scared she is in Spanish. The couple start kissing and touching again. Alba is about to go down on her when Natasha mentions she'd really like a vibrator, asking if Alba has one. Alba claims she doesn't use vibrators, nor will Natasha need one. She's quite skilled, but Natasha insists. She suggests using the wine bottle instead, but Alba's turned off at the idea of anything masculine coming between them. Natasha's annoyed, reminding Alba she likes men. Alba tries convincing her there are women who have never gone back to men after being with a woman, but Natasha won't budge, even snapping that she expects to be the opposite after this encounter. Alba's feelings are hurt, but she doesn't want them to argue over something so insignificant. Alba calls Max from room service, trying to order a vibrator, claiming Spaniards and Italians understand each other's language. Natasha's both embarrassed and a little excited as she listens to Alba turn down Max's offer for fruit as a replacement for the vibrator. Alba doesn't think fruit will do, telling Max they've changed their minds and hanging up on him. Natasha giggles at how crazy Alba is as she crawls back into bed with her, wondering what they'd do if Max mistakenly took the call as an offer to join them. Alba shrugs, explaining that then Natasha would have the choice between Max and a wine bottle. Alba teases Natasha, rolling the wine bottle along her skin, But just as they're about to get down to business, there's a knock at the door. It's Max. This time, both women cover up completely, especially Alba, as she answers the door to talk to Max, who eagerly claims he's brought them a hot cucumber. Alba's taken aback and Max insists it's sterile. He boiled it for 2 minutes. Shaking her head, Alba explains Natasha prefers the wine bottle. Max offers himself to Alba, but being a lesbian and a virgin, she declines. They make a joke about Natasha being a tennis player, since one of her arms is larger than the other, but their laughter quickly fades as they notice Max has entered the room and is dangerously close to them. He asks if they want to have a threesome, and Natasha shoots him down in Italian. Alba's shocked she can speak the language. Natasha apologizes on behalf of them both for the miscommunication, and together, the women kick Max out of the room. He hesitates a moment, looking at Alba's shocked expression and Natasha's cold gaze, then bursts into an Italian opera as he leaves the room, apologizing one last time. As Max leaves, Natasha notices a name tag on Alba's shirt, getting a hint at her full name. Alba notes that thanks to Max's pushiness, she's found a Russian tennis player who speaks Italian. While Alba's in the bathroom, Natasha quietly pokes around Alba's things, finding a pamphlet from a conference and a moped figurine. Alba exits the bathroom, asking whether Natasha understood her before when she spoke Spanish. Natasha confesses she did, and she was thrilled at her confession. Alba finds her excitement at her fear curious, but feeds it with sweet nothings about how every aspect of Natasha's body scares her. Her face, her smell, her smile, her skin. Natasha poses a question: if she had an identical sister with the same features Alba adored, would she feel the same about her? Alba's honestly not sure. Natasha's glad it's her with Alba, and not her twin sister. Alba's confused, insisting she explain. Natasha tells her she has a twin sister with a degree in art history, named Dasha, who just finished her thesis on the Italian Renaissance, claiming she came here with her. Alba notes the similarities in Dasha and Natasha's names, figuring she understands why Natasha's Italian is so good. But Natasha claims both sisters studied art history. In their 3rd year, they both auditioned for a film, and they chose her. Since then, she and sister drifted apart. Alba asks Natasha to prove her story, and Natasha heads to the laptop, pulling up a page on Sasha Varenina. Alba's even more confused with the addition of Sasha to Natasha and Dasha, wondering if they're triplets. Natasha just laughs. As they scroll through Sasha's headshots, Natasha explains she and Dasha played tennis together since they were little, but Dasha was always better at it, using the map to point out a tennis court on the end of the island she showed Alba earlier. Alba takes a deep breath, trying to process it before asking to see her sister. Natasha shows her photos and stats of her online, as she explains Dasha is the 10th best female tennis player in Russia. Alba notes the site states Dasha is left-handed, just like Natasha is, remarking there's no reason identical twins should also both be left-handed. Alba wonders if there's any differences between them at all, and Natasha seems triggered by this statement. Natasha confesses she was first to become a woman, explaining her mother passed away when she was 13, and afterwards began treating her like a woman. He never touched her sister, and she felt as though she needed to keep it a secret from Dasha. But one night, Dasha saw them and reacted terribly. Dasha felt rejected and developed an inferiority complex. Alba's shocked, thinking Dasha should have been grateful her ever put his hands on her. Natasha tries minimizing the situation, claiming it happened for only less than a year. Alba thinks she's going to cry, and Natasha shakes her head, admitting she hasn't cried in years. Alba wants to have the chance to comfort her. She asks Natasha to act for her if she can't manage real tears, but Natasha's already doing that. She's not a good actress. Alba decides to turn the TV on, distracting Natasha by enthusiastically singing in Spanish, dragging her to her feet to dance. The girls dance, spin and jump around the hotel room to pop songs in their native tongues, and Natasha lets out a scream as she releases her frustrations. An irate man complains from the other room, and they quiet down. Alba looks up, noticing a portrait of Cupid on the roof, his arrow poised at her. Alba walks over to Natasha and they start making out. Natasha hoists Alba onto her shoulders, kissing her everywhere, and Alba pulls her head back to show her the Cupid looking down on them. Smiling, Natasha throws Alba on the bed, and they make love again. Natasha imagines Alba had all sorts of sensual encounters with women while living in a harem. Alba confesses she never lived in Arabia. Natasha's disappointed, she liked that story. But Alba reveals it's not all a lie. It wasn't her story, but her mother's. Alba is Hamir's daughter, born in Athens. Natasha's glad to hear Alba truly exists. Natasha's curious as to whether Alba's mother became a lesbian too. Alba snorts, explaining her mother had as many men as she had problems. Alba considers herself a lesbian from birth, like how Natasha's a twin from birth. Alba's honesty makes Natasha feel the need to come clean. and she confesses she's getting married next Sunday. Alba's bewildered at who's getting married, the actress or the tennis player. Natasha admits it's the tennis player, and Alba realizes Natasha is actually Dasha, the other twin. Alba doesn't like the idea of her getting married so soon, but Natasha reveals they've been planning it for almost a year. She's soon to marry the man from Moscow who's supervising her thesis. They've already purchased a small apartment and intend to move in after the honeymoon. Alba's honestly relieved Dasha is middle class and particularly happy her father never touched her. But as she says that, it dawns on her Dasha is the one with the inferiority complex that she doesn't understand. Natasha explains how one night, she'd woken and found Sasha gone. She'd gone to her father's room looking for her, and there, she saw hands caressing Sasha's body, which was identical to hers. She'd stayed hidden and watched for a while, and it was the first time in her life she experienced sexual pleasure. Since then, every time she'd wake and find Sasha's bed empty, she would touch herself. They put an immense distance between the sisters, but she likes her life more than Sasha's now. Alba understands, trying to cheer Dasha up by reminding her that soon, she can have her own family. Alba shows her a video of a woman playing with kids on her phone. The children run around Alba in the video, teasing her. Alba explains the kids are speaking Basque, a very ancient language that's difficult to learn, and although she's been trying for a long time, the kids still make fun of her when she says words wrong. Natasha would one day like to have children too. Alba informs her the children are Ederyn's, her girlfriend of 2 years. When they met, Ederyn had just got out of a separation, and Alba had just ended a stormy relationship. Ederyn passed through Madrid one weekend and they hooked up. A month later, Alba moved to San Sebastian to live with them. Alba cries as she watches the boy in the video kiss his mother. Alba admits the boy perished last winter due to an accident in the house. She hasn't watched this video since. She confesses the boy passed with her, and though Ederyn doesn't blame her, she blames herself. Alba thinks if Ederyn was the one who was with him, none of this would have happened. Natasha holds Alba in her arms, softly petting her as her tears subside. Alba stops crying and the girls lie there for a while, enjoying the physical intimacy, marveling at each other's bodies, when Alba gets curious about Dasha's fiancé. Dasha tells her she's been with Vadim for 4 years, and she loves him quite deeply. He's wise and he's reliable. Alba wonders if Dasha's ever cheated on Vadim before, and she admits she hasn't. Alba admits she's never cheated on Ederyn either, and the girls agree this affair hurts them both equally. Dasha asks Alba if she'd like to send her a wedding present. Alba agrees, and Dasha pulls up an online wedding registry, showing Alba the options. Dasha admits if Alba were a man, it'd seem suspicious, but she can easily say she met a sweet Spanish girl while in Rome. Alba asks again what Dasha's doing here, and she reveals her sister gifted her a week-long trip to Italy as a wedding present, in an attempt to bring them closer. Dasha and her sister got into a fight earlier, and Dasha went off on her own, which is how she and Alba ended up meeting. Dasha brags that Sasha really is a fantastic actress, but it's also true that her boyfriend is a mafioso. When Dasha poses the same question to Alba, she admits she's in Rome for the alternative locomotion energy fair, centered around creating clean vehicles with low energy consumption. When Dasha looks confused, Alba smirks, bringing up a website and showing her photos of a conceptual vehicle she calls the Aspasia, while excitedly explaining the details of how it works, its top speed and its weather-proof design. Dasha's bewildered at the machine, wondering who invented it. Alba proudly reveals it was she. Dasha laughs, admitting Alba doesn't look like an inventor at all, but in fact, Alba's a mechanical engineer who graduated top of her class. Dasha admits it makes sense, since Alba's the best woman she's ever met. Alba thanks her, calling her love as a pet name, and Dasha recoils at the familiarity, asking Alba not to call her that. Dasha bursts her bubble, claiming any love they feel is fantasy, though Alba doesn't see how that's different from any other form of love. Dasha redirects, chiming she wants an Aspasia for a wedding gift. Alba offers to leave the one from the fair for her to collect. Dasha encourages her that soon, they'll ban all cars within the city, and introduce her Aspasias everywhere. Alba mentions there's only one prototype, but Dasha insists one will be enough for her in Moscow, adding she knows who Aspasia is. Dasha points to the painting in their room, mentioning Aspasia lived there, and Alba reveals when she checked in a week ago and saw it. She thought it was a good sign for her Aspasia, but today, she was told there's no chance of it being manufactured. Dasha figures that's why Alba ended up at the bar, though Alba admits, since the loss of the boy, there isn't a night she can sleep sober. Dasha realizes she should leave soon, asking Alba for a shower first. Dasha lectures her reflection as though she's talking to Vadim, claiming though he can have the body in the mirror, her heart will always be hers. Alba glances at Dasha in the bathroom then, back to the painting, as she realizes the good thing she was expecting today wasn't the Aspasia, but Dasha. Dasha sings Volaire in the shower. Alba joins her, dancing and singing under the stream of water. The girls make love, climaxing together. Alba nearly collapses from the intensity of the release, but Dasha gently eases her down. Dasha grabs her robe, lovingly dressing Alba, placing her feet in her slippers. Alba does the same for Dasha, affectionately kissing the soles of her feet before putting her shoes on and drying her hair. Dasha confides in Alba that while drinking, her sister admitted something to her she had suspicions about, but never had the courage to ask. Turns out Vadim dated her sister before her. Dasha explains he used to be her teacher too, back when they were both studying, and after Sasha landed the audition and stopped coming to university, they dated for a while. She figured they agreed not to tell her, but tonight, Sasha let it slip. Alba states she likes Dasha much better than her sister, complimenting how beautiful she looks in white as she squeezes her hand. Dasha admits the reason she and Sasha argued was because of Sasha's boyfriend wanting to invite mafiosos to the wedding. Alba pretends to be her groom, retorting it was a good decision. That's not the crowd they want at their wedding. Dasha's worried for Vadim if Sasha's boyfriend finds out. He's a frightening man. Alba shakes her head, wondering what about her, but Dasha claims she's fine. She knows Vadim truly loves her. Alba confesses she loves that goodness in Dasha, sure that's what Vadim loves too. Dasha reveals Vadim's always reminded her of someone from the Renaissance, pointing out the character who happens to be in a painting by Alba's bed, Leon Battista Alberti, one of Dasha's favorite humanists. She shares a quote from him with Alba, though she doesn't understand what it means. Dasha explains the idea is that artists must know at all times what they're representing, theorizing that he was talking about the Greeks in the painting he's in, as she points out the other painting of the Greek Symposium on the opposite wall. Dasha surmises one painting is talking about the other, though there are 20 centuries between both pieces. Alba's fascinated to experience them both in one room. The girls look back and forth between them, and Alba jokes it's like they're at a tennis match. Alba asks what the conclusion of tonight is, does Dasha love her? Blushing, Dasha admits though she's unsure why. Right now she loves Alba. They notice the sun rising, and Dasha agrees to stay with Alba during her moment. The dawn, then they'll say goodbye. They sit on the balcony together, watching the sunrise in silence, and when the church bells toll, they're anxious about saying goodbye. Dasha's hands shake as she attempts to get dressed, while Alba announces she's ordering breakfast for two. Dasha quickly agrees, stepping away to call her sister as Alba chats with Max, ordering a heavy breakfast. Alba asks to hear Sasha's voice while Dasha's on the phone, and she can't help joking it sounds like Dasha's voice split in two. Overhearing her, Dasha lies to her sister that it's room service. She tells her sister not to worry, she's having breakfast and they'll meet later, before hanging up. Alba questions if Dasha intends to keep their affair secret. Alba insists she wants something between them to remember the moment, pondering a bit before yanking the sheet off the bed. Dasha immediately understands her intentions, helping her mount their flag. It's too early for the wind, but Dasha's sure that the moment the wind blows, the satellites will take a photo of it for the map. She feels they owe them that much. Alba admires how inspired she is, and Dasha admits it's because of her. The couple share a passionate kiss before a knock from Max interrupts them. Max offers their breakfast on the terrace, and is momentarily befuddled when he spots the flag. When the girls do nothing but giggle in response, Max looks between them and senses the unspoken. He breaks into song, serenading them as he gracefully exits their room. Alba jokes Max will be their best man. Dasha finds herself more in love with Alba in the daylight, taken by her eyes, her lips, her skin. Alba admits she feels the same, and Dasha finds herself scared at how real their love is. Alba suggests they play at being brave, asking what they'd do if neither of them had partners. Dasha isn't sure, it being so new to her, and Alba suggests living in Rome. Dasha loves the idea, but wonders if Alba would really abandon Edern and her daughter for her. Alba nods, claiming their connection is real. She tells Dasha to shut her eyes, and if their hands meet in the middle of the table, they'll run away together, leaving it to fate. But the girls don't realize they use opposite hands, and when Dasha doesn't feel Alba on the other side, she opens her eyes, disappointed. When she notices Alba's hand is on the other side, she grabs her, and they're both startled at the contact, feeling a shock. Alba wants to believe the electricity is a sign of how sure they are, and Dasha admits she's still not sure, but she wants it more than anything right now. They whisper yes to each other, as if accepting a marriage proposal. Alba wonders what she should call her, Dasha or Natasha. Dasha prefers Alba calling her Natasha, since it's the name she invented solely for her. At first the girls are giddy, reveling in their fantasy of running away and the future they'll have. But as they look out towards the horizon, reality sets in and the mood slowly fades. Alba gets up to brush her teeth, and while she's inside, Dasha answers a call from Sasha wondering where she is. Dasha says she'll come meet her in a bit, curtly hanging up on her sister again. Dasha joins Alba in the bathroom. She's distant and cold as she brushes her hair, but uses Alba's toothbrush the second she's done with it, as if they were long-time lovers. Her sudden detachment scares Alba, who asks her to join her in the bath, but Dasha refuses, insisting it'll only make saying goodbye harder. Alba begs her, explaining she's never experienced love like this before, and she doesn't want it to end this way. She asks Dasha if she's sure she wants to part forever, and Dasha gives her a cold, hard yes. Alba tries reaching out to hug her, but Dasha backs away. When she won't take her hand, Alba strips, reaching for her again, and Dasha gets angry, screaming at her to fight, not lower herself. She screams a no at Alba that seems to shatter her. She physically recoils, her apologies turning into mumbles as she gets lightheaded, falling over. Dasha catches her, petting her paling face, questioning what's making her suffer so. In a daze, Alba points up to the ceiling, at a cupid whose arrow is poised at her. Dasha lifts Alba up, resting her in the tub as she clutches at her chest in pain. Alba can feel the arrow in her heart, and somehow Dasha sees it too. Dasha puts both hands on the arrow, pulling it out and freeing Alba. She admits she understands how Alba feels. She's never loved anyone as intensely as she did her this one night. But Dasha believes the best thing is to leave it here, between them, so that it never fades. Alba wonders if she means the bathtub, and chuckling, Dasha thinks there's no better place, climbing in with her. They snuggle into each other, and Alba suggests they take one last turn to leave everything here. Holding their breath, Alba leads the girls in a literal turn, tumbling them round in the bathtub. The girls dress in comfortable, intimate silence, helping each other into their clothes. They take one last look at the disheveled room before leaving. Alba's heading towards the airport, in the opposite direction of Hotel Ninfa, and the girls finally say goodbye, with Dasha insisting no kisses. Instead, they hold hands, both walking in opposite directions till their hands part. They both walk off screen, but then Dasha suddenly calls out to Alba to look at something, running back towards her. In the end, the satellite did capture the photo of their flag.